get started. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. We do have a little bit of a smaller group than we do from last week, but if you do have any questions, you either can put in the chat or if you want to just wait till the ending. And then please just make sure your mic is muted during the session. Okay, so I have my screen shared, so we're just going to go over what LoadTrek can do for compliance basics. So this is just going to kind of be an overview. I know some companies might do a little bit more or less, but we just wanted to give a brief overview for you guys. So the first thing that we're going to go over is HoS violations. So yesterday I created an example for myself. So I didn't take when I was off duty or on duty not driving, I wasn't long enough, so it was 29 minutes instead of 30, so it gave me a violation. So what the safety or whoever goes about doing violations, what they can do is they can click on the flag, and then a pop-up what you would like to do with it. For it to appear on the report and that you have addressed it, you have to select one of these three bottom ones. So it was a violation, and then I gave an explanation and then the corrective action, and then I saved it. And then when you go to reports, you can actually view this information. So what you do is you go to HoS, and then the bottom one, the HoS violations and exceptions. So what this is helpful for, if you guys are going through a DOT audit, this shows that your company is being proactive with your violations. No company is going to be perfect. You're going to have violations, but this just helps with that process. So it says the driver's number, name, when it happened, what it was. So here's the original of it being unvalidated, what the issue was, and then here shows that I said it was a violation, and then here's my explanation and then the corrective action. So then you guys could print this report and give it to the auditor. So that's one thing. The next thing we kind of wanted to go over too, tying into this, is when you do have a driver that has some sort of violation, how the safety team or whoever can be notified about this issue. So on a lot of the screens in the web apps, you'll see this triangle with an exclamation point in it. If you click on it, so I'm already set up for all of some of the alerts. How to receive those, you go click on the bottom to configure alerts, and you can select the ones that you want to see. So I have the HoS driving violations, HoS violation, geofence when you enter and exit, and then potential accidents. So for me, I thought that the HoS driving violations and the accident would be very critical. I would want that sent to me right away. So what you can do is you can click the second box over also, and it says it's going to send it as a text message, but it really sends it to your email. So when anything pops up like that, when the driver starts to get that HoS violation, it'll send you an email right away. If you do have your geofences set up for your company that you want to be warned on entry and exit, and you have those sent to the email, just beware that you're going to get a lot of emails throughout the day. I was playing around with it, and I had that set up for one of our companies, and it was crazy. And then what you also can do with these too, if I click done and then open it back up, you can actually click on these to see them. So same with if I go back to the HoS page, if I open it up, I can click on the actual violation. So this one's going to take me right here. But if I go to a geofence entry, it's going to take me to that driver's HoS log for the day. And then it'll highlight which entry it was. So those are just some helpful tools that you can it'll take you to exactly what you want to see. And kind of on the same token of geofences, LoadTrek offers some helpful tools that if you have areas where you don't want your drivers going, for this incident, we created one in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. There's a low bridge where a lot of tractor trailers will try going through and then they get stuck. So what we did is we created a geofence. So right here is the bridge. So we created it, pushed it back further so that we'll be notified right away when that driver enters the geofence. And same on the other side. And then we did warn on entry and exit. So that will alert the driver when they cross into that geofence. On the LX, it'll say, you have entered Oconomowoc Low Bridge Geofence. And then it'll also tell them that it's an exclusion zone so that they should not be in that. And then if you run reports, you can run the geofence report. And then the bottom one, geofence violations, which is the report I've already ran. And it'll give you all this information. So then you can sort this report. So if I click on descriptions, it's going to filter it in alphabetical. So we don't have any that were exclusion zones right now, but we have over speed alert. So another example of that would be at Lands and Dodgeville. It's a bigger location. So there might be a speed restriction for that facility. So if you go to the geofence for that location, you can enable a speed limit and put it in, and then it's going to notify the driver when they cross into that geofence. We already have the warn on entry, but it's also going to tell the driver that there's a speed limit. So if our driver is speeding, like we see on the report right here, then we can talk to the driver about that. Then what we want to talk about next is driver vehicle inspection reports. So all drivers are required to do these right on the LX after the driver signs in and then picks the US Federal. And if you do have other companies, they'll ask them which DOT number, then the driver will be asked to do a vehicle inspection report. So you can run a report to see if the driver's passed it, failed it, and so on. So there's kind of two different ways, or a couple different ways you can do this. So one is by going into equipment. So if your company is broke up by region and you have your equipment broke up by region, so if you have Wisconsin compared to Illinois, let's say, you could search by that. So we have, here's our list. So if I did this, I could run it for a certain day and just see those equipment. Or else I did then the HOS. The top one would be driver vehicle inspection report. So right here we see it's failed. Anytime a driver puts in a comment, it'll say vehicle inspection. Otherwise, if a driver just passes it with no comments, it'll say nothing. And then one other way too, you can see if the drivers are passing or failing, the inspection report is going. So if you're on the main page, you see that there's maintenance. Once you click on that, it'll show all your trucks. So yesterday or today, I was in 103 playing around, and yesterday, so we can see that we had failed it there. And you can search, filter it too by just the failed. So this can help the safety team and your maintenance team. And also too, it tells if your driver is just signing on and then just not doing anything. So if they didn't do their DVIR, then you would want to talk to your driver about that. One thing that we had covered last week, but just in case there's people that weren't on last week's call, we wanted to go over expirations. So this would be for the safety team if they were in charge of the hazmats or the badges and stuff like that. What you can do is go into compliance and then driver expirations. By running that, you will see, so for myself, I had my badge expired 7 days ago. So this correlates to the driver's setup of when you put in that date. So you don't want to put when your badge was issued, you want to put when it's expired. Same with your physical, your hazmat, and stuff like that. You always want to put not when it's issued, but when it expires, because then it'll give you the countdown of how many days are left. So this would be really helpful for the safety team and the HR departments. Next, we want to talk about incidents. So if your company got a call that, hey, Brooke Peters was tailgating me today and truck number is or obviously they wouldn't know who the driver was, but if they had called and said that truck 103 was tailgating me, or if a driver had got into an accident, what you do is you can do it both ways. So if it was a driver that called, you can click on that driver's name and then do incident request. Same with from the equipment side. So if you just had somebody call and report an incident, you could click on that truck and then do incident request. So it works both ways. It's going to correlate it to that driver's log of whoever's using that vehicle. Then what you do is you go to that driver's log, an incident will pop up. So all these lines right here that we see, the yellow ones, those are potential when incidents could have happened. So if the RPM spiked really high, or if they braked hard or accelerated, could cause a potential incident. To view all that information, what you can do is click on that flag, and this report's going to pop up. So it's going to give you all the RPMs, and over here on the right-hand side are your accelerations. These match to the graphs up here. And then you can also click on it and then mark if that's when the incident or accident had happened. If you need this for your insurance company, if a driver was in an accident, what you can do then is pull the report to send to them so that you can be like, hey, our driver wasn't at fault if that's the case. So how to do that then, in the bottom left-hand corner, you would click report. A new screen's going to pop up. And then you have the driver's information, the date, and then the company's address and all the information for the day. And then you can either right click and hit print or save to the computer. And then this flag that was on the driver won't go away. So if you do the incident, we kind of two things. You either can do it this way, or you could run a vehicle data report to get kind of the similar information. You're not going to have all the Excels in the graph, and it's not going to pin it onto the driver's log. But what you could do is go to equipment and then go to vehicle data. So I could run truck 103 for yesterday to get that same information, but in a little bit, it's not going to show as much in a different format.
A little more subtle.
Yeah. So then too, if we were told at a certain time, we could click on that time frame. And then we also, in the map on the bottom corner, you could click play, and it's going to take that breadcrumb trail and play it. And then you also could zoom in. So if somebody told you that the driver was tailgating, you could find exactly and see if it matches up the story. And then how do you see all the incidents that you've recorded for your company? What you're going to do is in the drop down, go to incidents, and then there's only one option, click run report. And then this will be the whole company. And you can see who it was requested by, and if it was completed or pending. Two, with the completed and pending. So if a driver is currently driving and you do an incident and you send it over to the truck, if they're currently driving, it'll come through within a couple of minutes. But if the driver is off duty, it will take some time for that report to come through. One other thing that we would want to show you guys, if a driver is ever pulled over for any sort of reason and you need to send the driver's logs, there's two ways that this can be done. It's either from the office side or the driver can do it themselves. So what you would want to do is in the HOS screen, if you have the correct driver pulled up, you would go to options and then submit ELD file. In the comment box here, you would then put the officer's badge number and hit save. And then the driver will be notified as well of that action, or else the driver in the truck on the LX on the spin wheel, there's initiate log transfer. They would click that. It's going to ask them if they want to confirm, take them through some steps, and then the same thing, a comments box will pop up. And again, they're going to put the Some additional reports that we just kind of wanted to show you guys that are helpful. We had talked about drivers not doing their DVIRs, or let's say you're having a driver that's saying that the safety team is trying to help them or do some training. If the driver's saying, hey, I can't get logged on, or you don't really believe the driver if they're just being lazy or whatever, what you could do is go to audit, and you can do sign-on non-compliance. So what this report is going to do, we're not going to have any in this database right now, but just to show you guys, it'll give the driver's name, their number, and then how many routes they had assigned. So this will only work if a driver has a route assigned to them. So if I was assigned a route today and I never signed on to the device, I just hopped into the truck and started driving, I would appear on this list today. On the flip side, it's helpful to know how many drivers have no routes assigned, but they hopped into a truck for the day. So in the audit drop down, and then the second one down, drivers with HoS logs but no routes, you would run that report. You could select a driver group. This is a new report, so we're still kind of fine tuning it, but you would select whatever driver group you'd want to see in the date. So any driver that was in the truck with no log, they would pop onto that report as well. And then one last report that we want to show you guys is in the safety. This would be for speeding violations. So if you, it's not turned on for all companies, so it pulls a lot of bandwidth. So if you would like this for your company, you can just let us know about that. So we don't have it turned on for this company, but I have screenshots to show you guys. So you pull it for an exact driver in a date range that you want to see. And we kind of just wanted to show you the different colors. What those mean are the severity of that driver's speeding. So right here, the driver was going 61 to 35. But you have to be careful, because if we see here with the road, the driver was on 41, then went on to Blue Mound 41, 41. So what had happened is the way that the breadcrumb trail landed, it hopped onto the overpass that went over the interstate. So that's why it had picked up the 35-mile-per-hour speed zone. So you just have to be careful when you are looking at this report. Don't just start jumping down the driver's throat right away. To actually zoom in and find that. And then the same thing as we had shown on the other report, you can click and play-by-play of what that driver was doing. And then here is just the overview. So you can see, we just zoomed out on the map, all of those locations.
But it's very handy.
Yeah, so this is a very, very handy tool, especially again, if somebody had called reporting a driver being reckless and stuff like that. Okay. So that's all that I have for right now. Jennifer, do you have anything to add?
No, we're good.
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay.
Well, we will stay on for a minute or so, but that's all we have. If you do have any questions, please let us know. You can also email us at questions@loadtrekservices.net. If you think of something later on that you have a question about. But thank you for joining for our compliance session.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your afternoon.